Are you celebrating your wins? Today, I want to talk about how important it is to celebrate the wins that you have in your journey, how instrumental that is towards your success as an entrepreneur. When you're now starting off, sometimes it's difficult for you to acknowledge small things that develop, small wins that you experience. I know when I started, and I landed my first client, I tried to downplay the significance of it in that I told myself, well, all right, this is just part of the course, not acknowledging how important it was to acknowledge that first client. And when I did come around to acknowledging the significance of that client, I immediately started feeling a sense of momentum and encouragement and excitement about continuing the journey. And sometimes when you're working so hard, it's been a way at building and building and building, and you experience an achievement, regardless of how small that accomplishment is. Sometimes we neglect to acknowledge and to celebrate it. And we don't realize how hurtful that could be to your motivation and to your momentum. Celebrating small wins in particular, those wins that could go unnoticed. You want to make sure that you're acknowledging those little wins that you don't pay attention to, because those are the wins that build the momentum that you need to persevere. Remember, entrepreneurship is difficult. This is not a bed of roses, and it's not for the faint of heart. You experience some mental stresses and some physical stresses also if you're providing services. You experience some stresses that make the journey really tough. And if there are mental stresses, then it becomes doubly hard for you to persevere and for you to succeed in the way that you want to succeed. So it's important for you to acknowledge these wins as you go along. And how do you celebrate those small wins? Well, firstly, you can start by writing down, identifying the little victories that you have through in your day or on a weekly basis. I prefer to do it on a daily basis, just to take a note, whether it's a mental note or a written note of a victory that you would have had during that day. And after you have identified a victory you experienced during the day, the next step is to share it with someone supportive. So whether it's a coach, a mentor, a spouse, or just a supporter, it can even be through social media engagement, making a post on social media, just acknowledging the win. And if you don't want to be that public, then find an individual who you can share this victory with. So it could be a coach or a mentor, a spouse, or a trusted friend. Share it with them. What that does is that it provides an avenue for validation, acknowledgement, because some of us, we need the appraisal or the applause of somebody else in order to drive us. We need that sense of satisfaction or acknowledgement, knowing that whatever we did is being acknowledged by somebody else. And that's the only reason why you share it. You share it so that you have acknowledgement and validation that this small win is meaningful. And the third thing is to continuously do it. So doing it every day might seem tedious, but consider doing it weekly or even monthly. But the third key to celebrating your small wins is to be consistent at it, to keep doing it. Because by keeping at it, what you're doing is building up memory, muscle memory. You're building muscle memory and you're building discipline as well. Because as the wins become larger gradually, you're not going to become indisciplined in the way that you celebrate. Some people have the tendency to go overboard with the celebrations, okay? They spend on lavish celebrations and then they find themselves in a financial difficulty. And by acknowledging small wins every day, every week, every month, what you do is you build discipline in how you celebrate. You automatically inspire a sense of delayed gratification, meaning you're accustomed celebrating small wins in small ways without large extravagance. So you're not inclined or easily swayed towards big outlandish celebrations. And that is a benefit to every new entrepreneur. Practice a delayed gratification. This is a knock-on effect, a bonus as it will, towards practicing regular celebrating of small wins. Celebrating small wins is a stepping stone towards motivating you. You do it regularly, and you're going to see how it builds that muscle. It builds discipline. It builds motivation. You become inspired. You feel a sense of accomplishment and achievement because you feel like you are doing something valuable. You're having an impact through your business. You're being impactful as an entrepreneur. Many people struggle with celebrating small wins, celebrating at all. We tend to tell ourselves that if we celebrate in a particular way or we celebrate particular things, that we come across as boastful and as bragging, when in truth, it is far from anything like that. A person can be very humble and still celebrate their achievements. Celebrating your achievements have nothing or very little to do when you genuinely celebrate, that is. It has very little to do with impressing other people, but instead it has everything to do with acknowledging your own achievements, acknowledging your efforts, motivating yourself. And there are many examples. Last year, I pursued an MBA degree because I wanted, in the main, to set an example for my children, to give them something aspirational to look forward to. But it was also as a means of improving my qualifications in the industry and to get knowledge, to learn, to develop, so that when I provide my services, I speak from a place of knowledge and coupled with my experience over 2 decades as an entrepreneur, I thought it was a good thing to pursue. And having pursued it and having been successful at it, I have celebrated it publicly, I have celebrated it privately. And in celebrating it as I did, some people interpreted it as being boastful or braggart. Some people felt that I was overboard and excessive, but it was a very proud moment for me and my family because no male in my family at that point had such an achievement. So it was worth celebrating for me. And as I said, I wanted it to pay an aspirational legacy for my children so that they have an example of a parent who is applying himself and being disciplined and pursuing higher education. I grappled with whether or not I should post about it, whether or not I should celebrate this achievement, and it caused me to delay how I celebrated, but I eventually did. And since that time to now, I can feel the lift in my own energy and my own effort how I do things. And that is the advantage, or that is the gain, benefit that celebrating small wins have for you. It is a very important tool in self-motivation. And as a new entrepreneur, you need to be motivated not only from external sources of inspiration, but also internally. And you achieve that internal inspiration and motivation by acknowledging the little accomplishments that you achieve. Don't let anybody take away your right to celebrate and to celebrate very small things. Because if you celebrate small things, you build discipline so that when you have big achievements, you know how to celebrate and how to appreciate big achievements. So if you found this episode of Coaching in the Car insightful and useful to you, I want to encourage you to like and to share this video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel before, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and to make use of discovering all the content that I've put out. My goal is to see professionals and employees become successful entrepreneurs. This is where I started as an entrepreneur, and I'm highly, highly, highly passionate and motivated about pursuing this mission. I want to thank you. The links to all my connections are in the show notes. You can follow me on social media. You can subscribe to my newsletter, as well as you can get my new book. They're all available online. And the links are in the description, as I mentioned. So until the next episode, celebrate small wins until we meet again. Peace.